it stood out because it was a little wrong. And, smoking a cigarette's a little wrong.
Yes, Dave Young from the Empire Builders podcast, who you also get to talk to Steven SEMPLE, which is awesome. Yes, you're on Sticky Sales Stories, sucker.
Well, you're part of the Empire Builders.
Listen, I am a little bit part of the Empire Builders. I've done an episode or two. So you had an idea, which I thought was actually kind of neat, because there's another partner of ours, Mick Torbay, who is brilliant at putting together the thing we want to talk about today. And this may not be the most recognized thing today, because you can't do what we're going to talk about today on television or radio.
You can.
Oh,
sure you can.
Oh,
you can't advertise this product.
That's what I'm talking about. We can't advertise this product. It may not be the most favorable product, but it doesn't take away from the fact that it's good marketing. It's good advertising.
Yeah.
It's a good piece. So let's just play something, and then you're going to talk about why it's so awesome.
Winston tastes good like a cigarette should. Winston tastes good like a cigarette should. Winston gives you real flavorful, rich tobacco flavor. Winston's easy drawing too. The filter lets the flavor through. Winston tastes good like a cigarette
should. So what was, can you explain to me a little bit about Winston Cigarettes?
R.J. Reynolds Tobacco Company, right? It goes back. This is big tobacco. And the story I found out about was during the Depression, the ad agencies in New York City kind of did this almost antitrust monopolistic sort of thing. They made an agreement amongst themselves to not steal each other's clients in the midst of this economic collapse.
Okay, that's cool.
Right? But a guy named William Esty decided to leave J. Walter Thompson and go out on his own in 1932. And so the Esty agency, his very first client was R.J. Reynolds Tobacco Company. And my guess is that wasn't an accident. I don't know for sure.
Probably not an accident.
I'm guessing he took them with
It's
it.
corporate America.
They were a J. Walter Thompson client.
Yeah.
Now this is way before radio and television.
Okay.
But people were trying to create brands out of things like cigarette brands.
Yeah.
Right? And so it's the Esty company that came up with this slogan for Winston brand cigarettes. And it was Winston tastes good like a cigarette should. And so
wait a second. No, wait. I love the...
Now wait, that doesn't even come in yet.
Oh, okay.
So they did a decade's worth of print ads before they ever sang the jingle.
Yeah.
Like there was controversy even with the slogan as it's written out, because it's Winston tastes good like a cigarette should. And man, did the grammar police got all over them. Grammatically, it should be Winston tastes good as a cigarette should, not a cigarette should. So people, were losing their minds because the cigarette ad was grammatically incorrect.
It broke the Oxford Dictionary rules.
Yeah, but what it had, it actually stood out because it was different.
Absolutely.
Right? It stood out because it was a little wrong, and smoking a cigarette's a little wrong. So, it just it got attention, right? And we know that even if it's negative attention, it's negative attention for something an ad guy did, not for the product, right? So that just is attention.
That's right.
So that's fine. But it has alliteration. It has meter, right? Winston tastes good like a cigarette should.
Yes.
And so it's even on a written ad, on a magazine ad or a newspaper ad, it has this element of echoic retention as opposed to iconic retention. So iconic retention is when we see something and we try to remember what we saw.
That's right.
Yep. All right. Echoic retention is we heard something and we remember what we heard.
Well, I think what I like about that a lot is that even if you don't say it out loud, if you just do it in your mind, if you're still gonna get like I just did it in my head because I had to but like I get the cadence and the rhythm of those words in that
also,
order.
and this even goes back to science. All right, your brain, my brain, the human brain is way better at remembering sound than it is at remembering sight.
Absolutely.
So if you memorize a passage from Shakespeare, it's not the words on the page that you're memorizing. It's what those words sound like and what they mean.
I know this is way off topic, but do you have a passage from Shakespeare that you know still?
To be or not to be.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I know Shylock's
Also got a nice meter to it.
Yeah. I remember the entire Shylock speech from The Merchant of Venice.
I went to school in Nebraska. We didn't study it.
Oh, okay. Well, our Canadian school system forced us to memorize that stuff. Anyway, okay, go ahead. That's totally off topic.
In essence, you're British. I've seen the Queen on your money before. So this is something like we've taught this in our Wizard of Ads group for decades, right? Yeah. Echoic retention. This goes back to Maslow and training dogs to drool at the sound of a bell.
Yes.
Right. He taught dogs to drool when they heard a bell because it was easier than teaching dogs to drool when they saw a bell. And we know this to be true, right? You're reading a book, you're sitting up at night and you're reading a book, and all of a sudden you can't remember the last few lines that you read, right? And you have to backtrack. It's because your iconic retention has shut down because your brain is tired.
That makes perfect sense. Absolutely.
You're sitting in a classroom and staring out the window or daydreaming, and your teacher says something and says, Matthew, you can actually remember about 5 seconds back and realize what the question was.
Yeah.
Because echoic retention rattles around in your head for a few seconds where iconic retention doesn't.
That's a great example. I like that example.
Okay. And it's just because the human brain is, I don't know, dogs can smell stuff better than we can, but we can attach meaning to sounds. And so when we read the Winston logo or the Winston slogan, Winston tastes good like a cigarette should, we hear, even before the jingle was ever put out, we hear the tempo and the rhythm to it.
Poems were written long before advertising was, and there was a reason for that, because it was easier to tell the story that way because it was remembered faster and longer, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So when they decided to put it to music, they just wrote some notes around it, and they inserted this weird little syncopated clap near the end of the core of the jingle. Winston tastes good like a cigarette should, like two little pop. Yeah. And in most of the TV ads, it was literally people clapping their hands. But we've got some other examples where they do a few other things.
Oh, here, let's play one. Let's play one where I hope everybody remembers these characters, but I'm going to play one. It's a cartoon version, which I think is awesome that they did. Celebrity endorsement, but they did use cartoon characters. So let's watch this.
They got into heat for this too.
Oh, guaranteed they did. Kids were watching television, right?
Well, but remember, Flintstones was primetime television.
Yes, exactly.
This was not a Saturday morning show.
All right, you gave out the goods here, but I'm going to play the video.
I'm sorry.
No, you're good. Okay, watch this.
The Flintstones has been brought to you by Winston, America's best-selling, best-tasting filter cigarette. Winston tastes good like a cigarette should.
But what I liked what you said earlier was the clap changed into, the sparking of the lighter twice. The clap or the plop or the spark, or there's another one where, and I did the voice version of it, which was the where and I'll play right at the end, but it was from Beverly Hillbillies, which one of my favorite shows growing up was the Beverly Hillbillies in the cement pond.
What you doing, Granny?
Making myself a new pipe.
Oh, I got something here you want to cotton to. That banker fella gave them to me.
What's that?
Winston Cigarettes. Try one, Granny. They is first rate.
Well, if you say they're really good.
Best smoking you ever had.
By thunder, Jed, that is good smoking.
Now try it this way, Granny.
Tastes even better.
They tell me these Winstons is the best tasting cigarette you can get.
Well, I may put away my corn cob. That's saying a heap for 'em.
You know, Granny, there just ain't no way of saying how good a Winston is. You gotta smoke one to find out.
Well, I can say this. Winston tastes mighty good.
Like a cigarette should.
So I thought that was really, I like that. So as a creative, as a writer, I love finding those little interesting ways to make it the same but different.
This is?
So that we don't bore our audience with the exact same thing over and over again, but we still need them to remember that it's us. And so I loved that little syncopated change that they had, which was incredible to go from a cloud clap to the spark.
Yeah,
spark
absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, here's the really weird part about this particular sticky sales story. 1971, January 1st, 1971, 10:50 p.m. on The Tonight Show, the last tobacco advertisement played in America.
Which is what I referenced at the beginning. This is not allowed anymore.
So 1971, 54 years ago, was the last time anybody heard this playing on the radio or television.
You know that the scary part about all that is that was a year before I was born.
I was 6 or 7.
Yeah.
Right. But I remember hearing that jingle.
Well, that's what when you first brought this to my attention, that's what you said. You said, hey, Matt, I want to talk about jingles, or you did want to talk about a very specific one because you were very young.
Yeah.
And so now everybody knows that we're in our 50s, closer to 60s. And we're talking, yeah, exactly. I resemble that remark. And you have recall on something from when you were 7 and 8 years old.
Yeah. So this is, in fact, you can go up to anybody that's, I would say 60 plus years old. So they were 6 years old. They might've heard it, but anybody in their 70s, anybody in their 80s. And if you say Winston tastes good, they will tell you cigarette should. They may not get the clap in or the noise, but they'll remember that jingle. And it's really no different than because the tobacco companies just they carpet bombed the airways with these ads, right?
Yeah.
Couldn't avoid cigarette ads. In fact, like you showed, they were in product placement. They were in the shows themselves with the characters from the shows doing the ads.
Yeah, product placement was way more prevalent back then than it is even today.
And
it's so much more subtle. Yeah,
it ended like hitting a brick wall in 1971
overnight.
And so the thing about it is you're never going to find somebody my age or older or younger that could tell you what the slogan is that they replaced Winston tastes good like a cigarette should with. They've had a couple dozen slogans in the course of history since that,
but because we can't hear it, it's not sticky.
Yeah. So what we like to point out is Congress didn't they outlawed tobacco advertising on radio and television because they could. Radio and television are regulated media.
Highly regulated, yes.
Right. So they couldn't outlaw it on newspapers or magazines or billboards. So that's where all the money ended up going was to other media. Our point is, it was outlawed on television and radio, but what really hurt them was it was outlawed in sound.
Right.
Right. It was the echoic nature of the jingle and the message that was taken off the airwaves. So like the next slogan that they had, nobody knows it because nobody ever heard anyone say it.
Yeah.
Do you know what it is?
No, I don't.
Here's
the thing.
I smoke for the taste of it.
I smoke for the taste of it.
That and so dozens of others after that.
Not even as good anyway as a slogan.
But it's just the fact that it was echoic. It was stuck in our head like the lyrics to all the hit songs from the 60s and 70s and 80s and 90s that you remember, right? We remember the lyrics to a couple of thousand songs that we never set out to memorize because we've heard them so often.
Yeah.
Right. And we can just hear, they get stuck in our heads. In fact, that's one of my wife's and I favorite things is what song stuck in your head this morning?
Well, and it's not a choice, right? I mean, when you think about the fact that you can be sitting in a room and somebody has a radio playing over in the corner, we're still hearing that, whether we want to or we don't. Really? If we're in a car and somebody actually, I was talking to this is actually very interesting because I was talking to an Uber driver. So I get into an Uber and East Indian Uber driver, really nice guy. And he said, hey, what do you do for a living? He was really chatty. We were talking about marketing and advertising, and it was a long drive. I was probably about 30 minutes in the car with him. And by the time we were done, he couldn't believe how many ads he actually knew that we produced in the city that we were in, because he said he doesn't ever listen to radio. And I said, but only place you're going to hear those ads is on the radio. And by the time we were done, he said, oh, but wait a second. I turn the radio on for the clients because they don't want to listen to my East Indian music. I just put on the local radio. He says, I never even thought about that. And I said, and you know all those brands, you know the companies that we write for. And he's like, damn, he had no choice whatsoever.
No choice.
Oh my gosh, that's so good.
And so this stuff still works. It just doesn't. The reason Winston's a good example is that it's an example that where 54 years ago they had to cut it off.
Yeah.
And the people that haven't heard it 54 years will still recall it if they were old enough to have been influenced by it. Right?
Exactly.
They'll still remember after 54 years. Now, an example of a company that's been using echoic memory in their ads and their jingles and their TV, radio. You don't even need to see their name or a logo anymore. All you need to hear is ba 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 ba.
I'm loving it.
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Because we know that tune.
Exactly.
We know that tune, and we know what company it conjures up in our heads.
Yeah,
that's the power of echoic memory. We remember how things sounded way better than we remember what they looked like.
Things that we take away from this, right? Yes, we're not trying to hawk cigarettes. That's not the point of this whole thing. It's just using audible cues, using jingles in your messaging, having something that people get used to and love and can sing along to, and their brains bounce to, make them feel happy. Echoically is going to last a lot longer than anything iconically. And Dave, you proved it out in this awesome video. So guys, if you are interested in learning more about this stuff, please reach out to us. We love talking to companies and business owners and anybody who wants to talk to us. We'll talk about this stuff all the time. Reach out to us through the comments below. Dave, thanks so much for jumping in, man.
Can I put in a shameless plug?
Yes, please do it. Go ahead.
I teach this stuff at Wizard Academy.
This is true.
A class called Portals is coming up in October, and it's 2 days of diving into how the brain works and how meter affects our memory, and then just loads of other things. It's a fun class, but it's 2 days.
I will then double down on that and say anybody who tells me that they're going to sign up to do Portals, I will go to the Portals class and take it with you, because I've not taken Portals yet, because I learned it through Dave, because he's constantly talking about this stuff. But I'm going to go take the Portals class with anybody that takes it, and just let me know in the comments that you're going, and I will show up.
Can I make a special offer to your listener or your viewers?
Do it.
If you sign up for Portals and put in the shopping cart that you heard it on the sticky sales notes thing, I'll let you have the alumni discount.
Yeah.
All right. And that's just, you type the word alumni into the little coupon code. It's half price. It knocks the price down to half price.
It does.
Check it out.
One of my favorite things after going to my first course, gosh, a decade ago, was that every other course I've taken has been 50% off. So, so guys, take it up. This is a great. We don't offer this to anybody just because. So, Dave, thank you so much. This is very generous of you, guys. Take Portals. Remember, echoic listening. That it's going to keep things sticky, and that's the whole reason why we do this channel is trying to teach you guys things that'll make your message more sticky. And the reason why there's commercials, even though you hate them, you can't forget them. It's because of all the things we teach here. So thank you, Dave. I appreciate it. Go to Portals at the Wizard Academy. So that's wizardacademy.org, and sign up. Let me know in the comments, and type in alumni in the coupon code area. I appreciate you, man.
I got to go have a cigarette now.
I don't. See
No,
you guys.
I don't either.